Welcome to Hot Takes, brought to you by 50cupstea.com, where united we sip, discuss, and learn. Join us as we dive into the hottest takes on culture, business trends, and the threads that bind us. Get ready for inspiring stories, candid conversations, and a fresh perspective on living a healthy, fulfilled life. Grab your cup and tune in. Let's get started.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I can't wait for the show because this man has so much in his mind. He loves to share it. It's time for 50 Cups Hot Takes with the one and only Jim Baker, who also owns a tea company, I believe. And the reason I know this is because I got this fabulous tea in front of me. Jim, how are you? Did you survive the storm? Are you okay? How's the family?
I'm good. Everybody's great. Everybody's great. Clearly, you've had multiple ounces of caffeine on top of the tea.
And I've been trapped because of the storms. And it's the first time I had to actually meet another human being for a while. So, yeah.
It's good to be back in civilization.
It is. And satire. I like that and sarcasm. So we'll get into that. But before, tell me about your tea. I did take a sip. This
is English breakfast today.
Yeah.
Perfect brew for the weather. It's a little rainy outside right now, 38 degrees. You got still some snow and some ice on the ground. So hits the spot, I think. And it gives you a little caffeine jolt, but I'm not sure you need any more of that.
I'm just excited to get into this because I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way. In fact, I'm pretty sure you do as well. But I opened it up by asking you how you survived the storm. And of course, for those who are watching and may not be part of the North Carolina community, anytime there's ice or snow or even rain, really, we tend to freak the heck out.
Yeah, we do.
And we had we've had two storms now. One that was going to possibly give us a bunch of ice, which is dangerous, and then a snow event that was kind of fun. But we were off of school. We had a lot of things going on and a lot of things canceled. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel that whole thing played out, from the government to the forecasters to the family and the stores?
Well, I don't know about you, but it seemed to me that maybe it's the advent of the internet or the advent of media just simply having to be in front of your face 24/7. But 15, 20 years ago, and I just remember growing up as a kid, you'd hear about a storm that's coming maybe 2 days before it's going to come. And I grew up and down the Northeast. So I was in the South for a while. I was in the North for a while. But we got snow when I lived in Virginia, for example, and it wasn't a big deal, right? And even then, back then, they weren't equipped to deal with it. And although in the area that we live in the Raleigh-Durham area, they are equipped to deal with it. We do have plows, we do have salt. They actually brine the roads a week in advance, which is absolutely ridiculous. So let's talk about that first.
Yes.
So in our area, the forecasters will tell you 10 days in advance that Snowmageddon is coming.
Yes.
It could be anywhere from 0 to 500 inches.
It was true. They did do that this time.
Always
it was like 0 to 2 feet that we could get.
And then as we are progressing, probably, let's say day 7 before it actually hits, the forecast gets a little bit narrow. So now it's maybe 2 inches to 500 inches. But then the brine trucks all come out.
Right.
And just so everybody knows, it's usually 50 degrees and sunny around this point in time.
That's true.
And all the trucks come around, they basically put this stuff down on the road. Mm-hmm. And then we have 6 more days after that of driving on it.
Right.
So basically it turns into dust and goes into the air and it leaves the road because it doesn't stay on the road.
Right.
And then inevitably what happens in North Carolina that the forecasters never tell you until maybe 24 hours in advance. They're going to tell you that now we've narrowed it down. Now it's going to be anywhere from 0 to 4 inches, and it could be ice and it could be rain, or it may not be, or it could be Snowmageddon still.
Right.
And for us, 4 inches and above is Snowmageddon.
Right.
So the first storm 2 weeks ago, we had evaporated, or shall I say, dissolved all of the brine into the air, and then it rained. Right. And although the air temperature here is 24 degrees, the atmospheric temperature where the precipitation has to fall through somehow in this storm was 45 or 50 degrees. It happens all the time.
Sure.
So it doesn't turn into snow. It basically is rain and comes down. And then thankfully, in this case, it turned into sleet.
Right.
So we basically had a pile of ice. The roads were clear for the most part. There wasn't any power outages, thank God. It was a non-event. But because we forecast Armageddon, all the schools, all the businesses, most businesses, but most of the public institutions that we need, like the Social Security Administration or the DMV or whatever, they basically jump for joy.
Yes.
Put the old "we're closed" sign out front.
See you later.
And they're done. Not for one day afterwards.
Oh, no.
Not for 2 days afterwards.
Got to be safe.
But close to 3 or 4 days afterwards.
And it was that way, exactly. The schools were closed in this particular county for, I think, 4 days after the storm.
Yes.
I actually took note of this because it just really got me that angry. 6 days before the storm, they said, get to the stores. Get what you need.
Stores. I forgot about
right?
the stores.
Remember that?
Yep.
Get what you need because this could be a catastrophic event. You must prepare. So they're outside in front of Home Depot and Walmart, and already the shelves are empty at this point. And this is 6 days out. Polar bomb was used. Arctic blast was used. Not seen since 2002, which was a devastating ice storm here. So my question to you is, since they obviously can't forecast 0 to 2 feet, how could they be so sure to use these kinds of descriptive words to scare the hell out of people? Because that's what they did.
All I could possibly think of is they want eyeballs. But the bigger issue I have, it's that we are in a nanny state now. We are. The old days, the weather would come in my mind at least, there was somebody at home that it was a decision maker in the county or in the school district that you're in. And they looked at what's going on, probably talked to a couple of people, and they looked at what the forecast was going to be. And then usually at 5 a.m. that morning, 6 a.m.,
yes,
they sent out the phone in this case or the email or whatever it was. And they said, hey, game over or 2-hour delay or whatever it is.
Which is so convenient for the parents who now have to find babysitters instead of the day before, But anyway, go ahead. I regress.
Now,
yes,
we get the forecast, and we all know there maybe got a 25% chance of it being right, and they make decisions based on forecasts. And inevitably in our area, even with that ice, usually that's an unusual experience. Usually they'll cancel and it's a rainstorm.
Right.
And that's it. Right. So that's one of my pet peeves. The other issue, hot take, is, do everybody in this area not have any groceries at all? So
yes.
Because they're going in and they're stockpiling like they're going to be out of power for a year and a half.
I know. This hoarding aspect of things, I don't know. I think that's a symptom of where we are as a society because I just don't recall that growing up. Maybe because I was young and stupid and didn't care about those things, but it's not as though we didn't have events like this in our lifetime.
Right.
And we didn't see this. I went to Walmart, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, just to pick up something I needed. The shelves it looked like COVID era stuff. It really did. And then I thought, my goodness, what about the folks who live paycheck to paycheck? And now they don't get paid till Friday and the shelves are empty. What do they do?
Right.
And what are you going to do with all that food?
Right.
I mean, it's always bread and milk. I don't know what you do with those things. But
and toilet paper.
And toilet paper. Well, yes. It's exactly. But it just, I don't know. It was such a statement on where our society is at, I think, from my perspective, the selfishness or the fear that motivates people to do things that are not within the common sense meter. And there was a meme where they had all these guys bringing the generators back to Home Depot, and there was this long line saying, good luck, get a refund, right? Yeah. But the point is, there was a time, Jim, I used to interview, when I did radio, we had a weather guy come on a local station, and he took pride in being right, being more accurate than the other individuals. I don't get a sense that exists anymore.
No. They'll compete.
Why, though? What do you suppose? Is it driving ratings? Is it because they're indoctrinated?
Even during the storm, the first storm, you're watching a football game on Sunday and you got in the, 25% corner, right corner, you got the weather person with the radar behind you. And or they'll interrupt the entire game that you're watching. So they can tell you that there's a snow cyclone, 100 miles away. And you got some remote reporter where it's not even snowing. They're like, it's going to come in 10 minutes. And it's like, who cares? It's not even, I'm in my house. It's 100 miles away.
And they're showing a dry highway saying, it looks good now, but.
Right.
I think it is sensationalism. It's probably directed by management because you want to, if you can scare an individual into believing their life and their family's life is in danger, they probably will tune in. But I don't know, are people, I guess they are, the shelves kind of make that statement. Are they really that inclined to believe these experts any longer? I'm not. I don't believe a word of these people say.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter?
Well, whether they believe them or not, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, why take a chance? Why risk? Why, you know, my kid can, by the way, remote learn now.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you have an elementary school,
yeah.
you know, child at this point in time. And the colleges, I mean, God, the tuition in the colleges are just going up like there's no tomorrow. And even when there's no weather, some of these classes are remote.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, thank God I'm not paying tuition anymore. But if I was, you know, I'd probably send half the tuition check in because I want to see a human being teaching my kids every single day. And if you're not going to do that, why am I giving you money?
Right. Makes those online colleges look pretty attractive. Without
Why not?
I'm seriously. We had that too. And it's, I think, see, I'm so cynical, Jim, because I think there's an ulterior motive to all of this. And I don't think it's my child's best interest. I think it is more about funding. I think it's more about not losing, you know, having to extend the school year and all these other things. But when it's all said and done, I have this very selfish, well, isn't what I pay you for? Aren't
Right.
you supposed to teach my child? I'm there to support, but why am I doing it?
Yeah.
And that was the case for 3 or 4 or 5 days.
So the
especially.
remote thing has been basically pushed to the parents.
Yes.
That's great. And we pay property tax every year.
Yep.
And supposedly 85% of it goes to schools.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should send in half of our property tax next year because we don't need buildings anymore if they're going to remote learn all the time. And if the parents are going to actually homeschool their kids, even though they're still sending them to school, then why do they need all the tax dollars?
Interesting. You know, I think the Somalians may have picked up on that.
Okay, let's not go there yet.
No, I'm not going to, but I was.
But I think the bigger, and we've talked about this in the past year or two.
Yeah.
I call it the nanny state. There is a benefit. Granted, you know, I know it's probably a lot of it's got to do with liability and being sued, et cetera, but I remember going to school late, just waiting in the snow, getting picked up by a bus, getting to school, and I was mad because I'd rather play outside.
Mm-hmm.
But it was almost like you felt good about going because you went under adverse
It was an
conditions.
adventure almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you saw your friends and,
Yeah.
but everybody made the effort. And I think when you make the effort, that builds character and it builds resilience to be able to tackle everything. But if you're automatically going to just be told, you don't need to go, relax, stay home, remote learn, do whatever you need to do, even though it's sunny outside, then how does that portend for the rest of your
I agree.
life?
I agree.
Right?
Because you're basing your decisions in the future on what you've gone through. It's a life experience.
And like COVID, you know, the grocery stores have to be open. So those people have to come into work and they got to stock the shelves. They got to do all this stuff.
But they didn't catch COVID. Didn't you know that?
Don't
They
go
did.
there anymore.
No.
So
Could eat at a restaurant.
you're on fire
too.
today, by the way.
Yes. Sorry.
By
I've
the
held
way,
a lot in
I do
since
say-
last week met.
I will
Jim.
say I've noticed a lot of mask wearing lately. Is there something I've missed out there about some kind of virus or something?
Now, are you talking about ice or are you talking about the other people? Yeah, no, it's. I think it's almost like the nose ring and the hair. I think it's part of the
Just
get
part
up
of the DNA, okay. Yeah, not a lot of people, but I just noticed it's been a little more consistent in the last couple of weeks. So maybe it's weather related. I don't know.
Maybe.
So then the beauty is we get another storm a week later. All right. And this one is wildly snowmageddon. This time there's no rain. It's going to snow the whole time.
Oh, man.
All right.
I was ready for it, too. I have a tractor with a plow on the front. I could not wait. But I did.
Right. And so this time they were accurate that it was snow.
Yes.
The issue was
How much?
how much. And again, it was 0 to 500. And then it was anywhere from 4 to, 15 or whatever.
Right.
Then we were told it was going to start Friday night. And then we're going to told it was going to start Saturday midday.
Mm-hmm.
And then where I lived, at least, it snowed for maybe an hour from 2 to 3, then it stopped. And then I think we finally got some snow on Saturday night into Sunday.
Yeah.
Looking at again, taking over the TV while I'm trying to watch a game, radar, we're in this giant dry pocket.
Yeah, it's
everything
like
to the west
field.
of us is snowing. Yes. Everything to the east of us is snowing. And we're in the middle with this dry air. And they act like, they pretend like, oh yeah, we knew this might happen. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell us?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think there were more people relieved than the weather people were when it finally started to snow. But yeah, no, your point is well taken. I mean, their inability to forecast, even when it's upon them,
right,
is makes me wonder a little bit about global warming. But go ahead.
My daughter and her husband and baby dog, they were all driving up to Baltimore for the weekend, but because of Snowmageddon, they were told to stay home because the 95 corridor was going to be a mess. Well, it ended up, that whole storm ended up going out to the ocean.
Yeah.
Right? So the East Coast, especially the Northeast, never got hit at all. So now the good news about them is they went back to school on Monday.
Yes.
In our little dry river, where we got about 3 inches here.
Yeah.
It's 3 days later, they're still out of school.
Yeah. Yes. I couldn't believe that.
And the streets are dry.
Absolutely.
There's no ice anywhere.
Now think of the economic loss. Because, the forecast, and to be fair, it wasn't just the local forecasters, it was the national, it was even the European, they all had this highly inaccurate forecast. But you had people spend money they probably wouldn't have spent. People, especially, middle to lower income that are, going paycheck to paycheck. That was, I'm sure, a big deal. People buying generators they didn't have to buy. There was no salt. They took all the salt.
They did.
And the propane, which leads me to this.
Even the kitty litter was disappeared.
I had to go on a hunt for a propane because I forgot my grill was out. And it took me a good couple hours to find this little obscure blue tank thing that you can get. And I got it back, and I felt like I won the lottery, Jim.
So look at you. You're going to actually trudge out there and cook outside while it's snowing and raining out.
Yes.
Impressive.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
See resilience.
I grew a beard, put on a flannel shirt. It was great. But the governor stepped up, though, and he enforced the gouging laws. And I want to just throw this out at you.
Go ahead.
Because I can't think of anything more counterproductive than that. It seems like you have to buy stupid to come up with a law like that, and that's what we did. Am I wrong? It seems to me that gouging is actually a good thing in the long run because, in fact, I read an article from Dr. Munger at Duke University who pointed this out to me because I believe that, too, gouging was awful. I wanted to publicly whip these people, But if you allow the gouging to take place, the higher price attracts more individuals willing to supply and bring it into the area. He gave the example of the hurricane here in North Carolina where ice was normally $1 and now they were selling it for $10, right? Well, the state came in and took all the ice and hauled it off. Said you can't do that. So nobody got ice. But imagine.
Wait a second.
Yes.
The state bought up all the ice?
Well, they said you couldn't sell it for that.
So who bought it?
Well, I don't know. They shut the doors. They couldn't sell it for that. You had people coming in from out of the area with U-Hauls with all this ice, and they were selling it for a rather significant profit. If that was allowed to continue, maybe the next guy with the U-Haul would have sold it for $9 a bag, and the prices would have been reduced, and everybody would have an opportunity to buy ice. That's why I look at the gouging laws as just stupid. But I'm not a brilliant, successful businessman like you are, Jim, so... Am I wrong about this? How do you view it?
I mean, obviously, there's always going to be some bad actors out there, and I think the bigger question is it's probably a law, but there's no way in the world they can ever enforce it. So that's just political grandstanding. That's all that is.
See, I think you nailed something here. I think all of this is
everybody has to have a voice during any type of storm or any other type of event. They don't want to be left out, because then sadly. They should be left out. The governor should never say anything in this case. And I remember the governor 4 or 5 years ago when we had that outage in the pipeline, and he went on and said, no gouging, everybody don't get gas. Well, they did the exact opposite. Everybody went to the gas stations and drained everything within 4 seconds flat. Right? If he didn't say anything, it would have been a normal business day.
Right.
Pipeline would have been fixed and everybody would have been happy.
Well, why aren't we so influenced by the media and politicians and teachers?
Because I think in some cases, it's every our citizenry, and maybe it's because of what we just talked about, they all expect somebody to do something at some point in time, right? And sometimes there's just simply nothing to do. It's a storm.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Go out in your sleigh, hang out with your kids, build a snowman. Next day, get in your car and go to work. What's the big deal?
See, I've been saying that, but I get dumped on because I'm from up north, and people say, well, you don't know what it's like down here.
Yeah, it goes away fast.
It really does.
Forever.
I mean, I shouldn't have even had to use my plow because it was fun, but I mean, it melted faster than I could plow it. So
Here's a hot take on some 50 Cups tea.
Our English breakfast tea is known to be great for body and heart health as it contains polyphenol antioxidants, which help lower inflammation, and it also promotes heart health and is full of micronutrients like potassium, which helps nerve contractions, magnesium and phosphorus help bone health, and folate, which helps the production of red blood cells.
Visit 50cupstea.com to find out more.
I guess the bigger aspect of this is, and maybe I'm too old, but when I grew up, I believed the weathermen, for instance. I believed the teachers, what they were teaching me. I believed experts who came on and said, blah, 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 blah. I believe these things. I really did truly trust these individuals, and I have zero trust now. And yet they still seem to have an awful lot of power to motivate people to do things that are really counter to their own best interests. Is that going to change? I mean, did you feel the same thing, this transition from, hey, I believe the local weather guy, to these bums? That's where we are right now. I
think some of us don't believe them, and some of us don't care. Like,
right.
I don't really care. I mean, I have a couple family members that are fake weather people. They love the weather and they look at it all the time.
Yep.
I'm like, if it snows, it snows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, it's just, I don't care.
Well, what happened to that lifestyle? Everybody used to be that way, Jim.
We have too much time on our hands. We constantly are looking. We want to see. We want to watch. And, maybe some people are generally excited because they have kids or they remember there were 12-inch snowstorms up in Wisconsin and they want to relive that. Great. I get that. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just a strange dynamic right now.
Well, I don't know. It just seems as though we've lost our minds in a lot of areas, or at least common sense that, and this independence we used to have, like you don't really care about it. You're going to survive. It's not Armageddon or a polar blast that's going to destroy us. We're going to be just fine. The education system, you kind of touched on with the virtual teaching, but I want to just bring that in, and I don't want to get political on this, but there's obviously the protesting and things like that. But how do you feel about the kids and the teachers going out to offer their voice and be part of this event that seems to be taking place right now?
It shouldn't happen. I'll just leave it at that. I think if you're a teacher and you're in a history class, for example, or you're in some type of current event class, then absolutely bring it up and absolutely reinforce based on how you feel about it, that in our country we have First Amendment rights and you do have freedom to peacefully protest, but to stage a walkout and to take your kids, they're your pupils, to go outside and, not work or not teach, or, if they're not in education, just simply go out in solid area. I think that's ridiculous because, first of all, you don't really know what's going on. Right. So are you being influenced again by the media? Or do you truly believe this stuff? And if you truly believe this stuff, then why are you here? Why aren't you in Minneapolis or why aren't you someplace else? So I kind of looked at it from both sides, and these are facts. I don't know if these are facts, but I don't think a lot of people have understood the facts. So this country elected somebody to fix our immigration system because it was wildly broken. Part of that tenet was to close the borders, which they've done. The other part of it was to round up all the illegal aliens, especially ones that are committing crimes, and give them a path to get out of here. And the path is they get paid $3,500. They get a plane ticket. They're allowed to take their family, which is a myth that's been perpetrated that they're not. They are. They're given, the mom is given the choice. If their kids are born in this country, she's given the choice. They can stay with somebody else who's legal, or you can take them. And most of the moms obviously take their kids.
Of course.
Rightfully so. And then they humanely get on a commercial airline flight, and they are with the money, and they go back to their country. And that's how it works.
Yes, it should. I mean, there is a law in place.
And I think the bigger hot take I have is that we elected somebody. When I say we, I mean the country, the majority of the country elected somebody to fix our immigration problem because the majority of the people in this country knew that there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So now that they're doing it, they're being prevented from doing it. And they're also, it's being reinforced by certain judges
Yes.
where suddenly we don't have to abide by laws anymore. So I'm thinking to myself, well, why have elections then? Because if you don't have election, if what the people want can't be carried out because nobody wants to obey the law, then why have a society?
It just dawned on me. Are you suggesting they're destroying democracy?
Nobody seems to, I mean, so, you know, if you
I have
take
a smile on my face in case you didn't cut away to that.
Yeah, and
it
I
was
think-
somewhat said in jest because it's that group of individuals that seem to be gravitating to that viewpoint that certain laws should not be applied
right.
based on whatever standards they
Right.
have.
And Congress passed laws,
Yes.
and there's a way to get into this country legally. And unfortunately, we allowed illegals to come into this country. But even the people that are opposed to deportation, for example, still use the word illegal. So you're illegal because you came in unlawfully to this country. Therefore, you broke the law. Therefore, you have to be removed.
Right.
Right? Now, is there a better way to do it? I hope so. And I think they need to do that because I don't think the people that are the ICE agents, for example, that are trying to get these people out, they're in a bad spot. First of all, they're not trained to deal with protesters and crowd control.
No.
Secondly, they're not trained to deal with agitators that are armed. And they get no protection from some local municipalities. So they're not, this perfect law enforcement individual who's been trained in all these things. And nor is a policeman, for example, or a SWAT team person or somebody else.
Right.
Right? They have specific roles. And as a law enforcement team, they need to team up with the municipalities to peacefully remove these people. And it's been done in other cities. And it's been done quietly, and it's been done effectively, and it's been done without harming those individuals that are affected by it.
So why hasn't it been done in certain cities? Because we're talking just a few cities, Minneapolis being the one that's highlighted. They used to give them a call and say, hey, we got this murderer or this rapist or whatever. They're going to be releasing. He's in our jail. You got one guy who has to come and get him. They've put a stop to that, which now has caused what we're seeing unfold in the media, which is, I think, proven not to be totally honest about what is happening and trying to shift public opinion one way or another. But why? Why is it all politics
That's
again?
the problem, I guess.
Is it all politics?
I don't know why anybody, whether you
Who would want a murderer in their neighborhood?
love our
Jim?
country or dislike our country, wants to protect a rapist, a convicted murderer, a convicted thief. I have no idea why they would want to do that. So there must be a bigger thing going on here. And the only thing I could possibly think of is if you look at patterns, the people that are out of power want to get power again. And therefore, they're going to create as much chaos as possible, timed for major elections. And that's the way to get back into power, because the average American then says, you know what? I was on the side
I'm tired of seeing it.
I'm tired. I'm stressed out about it. I'm thinking about it all the time. I think whether you're for or against, you're just tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're tired of people being killed. You're tired of judges not following the law. You're tired of people being released, after they've been committed crimes. You're tired of the rhetoric between the politicians. You're just tired. It's part of the profanity. You're just tired of everything. So you give up. And they know this. They know this.
Sure.
That's why they do it.
It
and I
has
don't
worked.
think it's the immigration piece of it. I don't think they're really that compassionate about the Somalis or the Venezuelans or whoever else is here illegally. It's a bigger picture here. And it has everything to do with power and money. And I think if you look at Minnesota in particular,
excuse me,
you have that Medicare fraud that's going on right now.
Big time.
Big time. And it's, by the way, it's worse in California. But, you know, governor decides he's not going to run again because he knows he can't win with this thing. And then the gift of God happens. And now the Minnesota mayor, in my opinion, is doing what he needs to do. He's a young guy, so he understands media and social media. And he's elevating himself to run for governor at some point in time.
Sure.
And guess what? How many times have we talked about or heard about or read about, you know, the fraud that's going on in Minnesota since these riots have started?
Well, that'll be interesting as it unfolds. I guess, you know, it's the moral aspect of all of this where I would no longer promote the killing of the murderers, rapists, and illegal aliens. Yet it seems to be something that politicians, I think Nadler came out just yesterday, but most of them are calling the law enforcement Gestapo and thugs and actually are advocating, you know, justifying the use of a weapon against them. I understand
people that call for gun control and want to remove all the guns in the country.
Exactly. See, it makes no sense, but there seems to be a moral emptiness that is in all of this. And I just don't know where you get that back as a society, because I get the power thing, I get the money thing, but the essence of a human being, you, Jim, you morally have to decide, I'm willing to do this, compromise this, say these things for power. And that's what a lot of these people are, and those who support them are doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's where I get frustrated, but I don't want to, you know, necessarily in my mind just give up. But
right.
Why are we advocating violence against law enforcement?
I think it's because it's good video for the internet and for the
average
mainstream media.
human then gets fired up about that.
Mm-hmm.
And if the average human truly believes that ICE, in this case, is the Gestapo, then they're being motivated by NGOs and other entities behind them.
Yes.
And they're getting fired up, they're getting paid. And like, I don't know how much of this is actually organic.
Very little, I think.
And even if it is organic, again, the politicians are inciting these people to go do something stupid.
Right.
And last time I checked, the same people that are advocating for violence were the ones years and years ago, you know, telling us to be passive, to, you know, protest peacefully. They never probably said respect law enforcement, but they were, you know, everybody should not have guns. We got every time there was a crime, let's remove all the guns, blah, blah, blah. And they're going the other way now. So that's why I think at the end of the day, it's all about getting power back.
I agree with you. I do. And of course, the politicians offer up justification for doing things. I mean, listen, if you honestly believe they're Nazis and Gestapo, and of course they're not, but if you believe it, the obvious next step would be wouldn't you take out Hitler if you had a chance?
Well, the hilarious thing is all these young people probably never were taught through the school system.
They don't have a clue who Hitler is.
Legitimate American history in World War II, so they have no idea what a Nazi is.
No. That's a great point. I brought up the morality of things, and I know you're a good Catholic, you're a religious guy, and you know I'm a Christian, I still am a Catholic. I try to live my life that way. It's more difficult than ever, but where do you go if you're just a person looking for that kind of guidance? Because you're not getting it in the media, you're not getting it in the schools, you're not getting it anywhere else. I think you go to the church would be my answer to that. Is that a good place to go to find moral clarity on these issues?
There's two things, right? So one is if you believe, and let's say you don't go to church, but you believe there's an afterlife.
Right.
The afterlife is going to last forever. This life is going to last for 0 to 80 to 100
Well, now you
years.
sound like a weatherman.
So it's a blip in time.
It is,
right?
yes.
So then what you do here is your hall pass to have eternal life,
Right.
right? So I think when we get so stressed out about what's going on in our lives, it's because we're not looking at the big picture. You know, if you're that motivated and upset about Minneapolis, for example, whatever side you're on, then my suggestion would be to figure out what is it worth it because of what you might be giving up in the next billion years in eternal life.
And beyond, yeah. You have to, so if I'm hearing you, it's almost as though you're saying, listen, if you don't believe, you're saying afterlife or a higher power, then it's almost impossible to have that moral clarity. I mean, isn't that what everything's based on?
Right.
I mean, your rights come from God. It doesn't come from the government, for instance. And yet today, the churches have been so polluted with, again, ideology, and it's probably all for the same reasons. You know, the Bible's twisted, preachers and that have different perspective on things, political in nature. And I mean, I just don't know where the average person goes to go, okay, this is the roadmap.
Well, they can't go to that Christian church in Minneapolis because they were invaded by Don Lemon and other protesters.
Yes.
Thankfully, they got arrested.
Yes.
The second time, because the first time the judge threw everybody out and
Right.
said you can't arrest them. But they found, they obviously sharpened their case up and went back to a grand jury, and they were arrested now. So hopefully there'll be consequences for that.
I hope so.
But I think this country, by design, not necessarily from the country itself, but from the people, we've secularized, our society, and we've forgotten how important the Catholic Church has been to Western civilization. Why are we so much more advanced than other societies in the rest of the world? And the common denominator is most of our countries over the years were founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and the Catholic Church was a major force
That's true.
in Europe, major force over here. And if I just look back, I did a little artificial intelligence searching.
Yeah.
Catholic Church invented a lot of stuff. It's a little trivia for you.
I did not know that.
What century was Gothic architecture developed?
Oh, one of my favorite subjects. I have no idea.
The 12th century Catholic Church.
12th century. Wow.
Right? What institution developed and started the first hospital?
I'm going to say Catholics.
16th century.
No
That's
kidding.
correct.
Yes. 16th
Yes.
century. Wow.
What century and what institution developed the Gregorian calendar that we use today?
I don't know what century.
Pope Gregory
Yeah.
in the 300s.
Wow.
What institution developed the first clock, mechanical clock that we basically...
Catholics did that?
Yes.
They did do that?
Yes. What
That's why they were
institution
so specific to be on
developed
time.
irrigation and water systems for producing crops?
The Catholics.
Yes, the monasteries in
No
the old
kidding.
days. Monks didn't have much to do, so they did a lot of research, obviously. What institution developed the scientific methodology that we use today?
Oh, I'm going to go on a limb and say Catholics.
Exactly.
Yes.
Gregor Mendel. Yes, the Catholics.
Wow.
The father of genetics, by the way.
That's amazing. That really is amazing.
And believe it or not, what institution came up with the theory, the Big Bang Theory?
You're not talking about the TV show. You're telling me that Catholics came up with the Big Bang
Yes.
Theory? The Catholics
Catholic
did?
scientists, yes.
To prove the existence of God,
Yes.
probably. Yes.
Yeah. And now obviously they're using it to disprove the existence of God.
Yes.
Trying to think, there's one more here that I missed. Oh, music notations.
Yes.
Catholic Church. Manuscripts.
The Catholic Church.
I could go on and on.
I bet you could.
But all these things that we mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
helped us revolutionize society in a humane way. When you started caring for the sick, right?
Wait, didn't they preach that the government should take taxes away from everybody to build those hospitals?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm talking about the Catholic Church. No, they didn't. I mean, in other words, they did it because of their religious beliefs, their moral character. They took it upon themselves to do it.
Correct.
And
no government back then was doing that.
Yeah.
In fact, the government didn't care about you at all. They kicked you to the curb.
Right. So they took that step, and it was the individuals of that community that built this hospital.
Right.
I remember the Catholic hospitals. They were pretty prevalent where I grew up, and it was a pretty big deal to have them in the community. And Catholic schools, which I went through the 8th grade in Catholic schools, and in Wisconsin, they're everywhere. It's hard to find good Catholic groups here. In North Carolina, it's not as prevalent, but it was instrumental in the kind of education that people got. And it was moral character, but it was also it was a sense of community that I don't think you get nowadays almost anywhere. And maybe it's, I don't want to get down the path of social media and everything, but you felt like you belonged. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a common denominator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You had your church community, but you had Christ.
Right.
Right. And as one of my friends said, the beauty of he converted. So he was Baptist, I think. And then I think he converted about 15 to 20 years ago to the Catholic religion. And he said, the beauty of what I love about the Catholic Church is that every time you go to Mass, it's not about the preacher. It's not about the minister. It's not about the pastor. It's about Jesus. And one could say, well, it's very mechanical and repetitious because you get the same thing every single week, other than some different songs.
Right.
But in all these other denominations, you have this, if the church is going to succeed, it's all about the the charisma of the minister or the pastor to, move the flock, to fundraise, to do all this stuff. And it becomes more about him or her than it does become about Christ. And he goes, that's what I love about the Catholic Church, which I thought I take that for granted, but I thought that was brilliant.
It is brilliant. I mean, as I said, I grew up and I went to church almost every day because you were in the school, and became an altar boy because it tended to make the Mass move a little quicker for me. Because,
yeah, of course. It's a lot more fun.
And I did get caught up in the redundancy of the ceremony, but I've grown, I think, spiritually since then, and I've grown to appreciate. I mean, nothing's perfect, but...
No, we know that. And they've had their scandals. And, and I think that's an excuse where people have been driven away from the church, and my thought was, yeah, it's bad. They didn't probably fix it the way we would have wanted them to fix it.
Right.
But they've been around for 2,000 years.
They've
done a lot of great things. They know what they're doing. But that's not going to prevent me from, making sure that I'm staying on the track that I need to stay on. Right. Because the people that I know, my priests, my parish, is fine. But let's get rid of the other bad guys, bad actors, and let's replace them with other people. And I think they've done it. They just do it on a different timeline than, the rest of us like them to do it sometimes.
Well, right. And we're all humans, so we're all going to make mistakes, sometimes terrible mistakes. And that's just part of life. I do sense this void, and it seems to be growing wider, because I don't know that society as it exists right now can continue down this road of denial of truths and beliefs that we once held are just seem to be gone. I don't know if the majority of people feel that way, but I just don't know. I mean, it seems like the truth is now lies is truth. Everything seems to be opposite of what it should be.
It's almost there's too much information out there, but I will say to you that this is, I think, a fact. Everybody can look it up. The amount of people under 30 going back to the church has increased significantly. And that's our area, at least, not from transplants, but just from people coming in to be converted in the Catholic Church in the eastern part of North Carolina. I want to say has increased by like 300% in the last couple of years. So people are coming back.
One of your guests that we talked with mentioned that from a parish, and that is exciting news.
Yeah. So don't be totally discouraged.
No.
Because at the end of the day, there is a greater power, and
it'll all work out.
He left us to our own devices. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's going to work out.
See, and that's good news, right?
100%.
That's a great way to kind of wrap it up. And it is very comforting to know that if you believe there is a God and he's here with you with the Holy Spirit, he's going to, don't worry about it. It says so very clear. Don't worry about today. Don't worry about eating. Don't worry about that. I got you covered, right? See, I could be a priest. I could be a hip kid priest.
You almost were at one point.
Almost. I almost was.
The largest Christian institution in the world.
Catholics.
1.3 billion.
Wow.
1.3 billion.
He's an interesting guy
in every country in the world.
He has all these facts. No, but I mean, that says it a lot, when you don't, sometimes all you hear is the bad things about a church or a religious organization. And those are always going to be there. But when you look at those accomplishments and just the period of time in which has existed and the influence it had on kings and queens and governments in general, it's pretty darn amazing. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Supposed to maybe rain a little tonight and possibly freeze tonight, Jim. Are you prepared?
We'll be off school tomorrow. Remote learning day tomorrow.
They're praying for that right now. You can tell.
They'll have 9 days off in the first 2 weeks in February, and then they'll get to go off for President's Day in another week and a half. It'll be great. And then colleges.
Then the quarter's over for our year-round school and 2 weeks off or whatever they get. And we were told not to pray for snow. Some of the principal didn't want any more snow days, so we'll see. I'm not going to pray for that. I enjoy it. Anything else you'd like to add today? I mean, I thought you were incredible.
Yeah. Enjoyed speaking with you today. And hopefully we can get our remote guests on at some point in time and start our wisdom series back up again. So
I really enjoy those.
If anybody watches this, hit me on LinkedIn if you have any.
Of course there are people watching this.
If you have any wisdom guests, please forward them to me, recommendations, and I'm happy to reach out to them and get them on the podcast.
That would be awesome. That's one thing we don't do in America is value those who have, lived a long life, because with that comes a tremendous amount of wisdom. Absolutely. Like, I bet for somebody who's older, I would have to say, Jim, how do they get your tea? Because they probably already know.
Well, every guest we've had on live that's been over 70 years old doesn't like tea. And maybe that's why they're living forever. But if you want to get the tea, limited supplies, 50cupstea.com.
All right. Jim, as always, pleasure, man. Thanks you very much.
God bless.
Thanks for joining us on Hot Takes 50 Cups. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to visit our website at 50cupstea.com for more great content and delicious organic teas, and listen and watch us on all the leading platforms. Stay connected with us on Instagram at 50cupstea, YouTube, and TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends. Until next time, keep sipping and stay united.